Hare Krishna, Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Narayana, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udiret. Before reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Nara Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatir uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in the classes of Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to a pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and public service unto the personality of Godhead, whose praise with transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Ajnana timirandhasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha. In the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Shute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhobhyaiva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukham karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatam aham vande Shri Guru Deenataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanyeshwaram. Thank you everyone for attending the Bhagavatam class as always. Today we are going to take a look at the 7th canto of Bhagavatam, chapter 13, entitled The Behavior of a Perfect Person. And I think we're doing verses 28 to 34, so we can start reading.
In this way, the conditions of living within the body forgets his self-interest because he identifies himself within the body. Because of the body is material, his natural tendency is to be attracted by varieties of material world. Thus, the living entity suffers the miseries of material existence.
Just as the deer, because of ignorance, cannot see the water within the well covered by grass, but runs after water elsewhere, the living entity covered by the material body does not see the happiness within himself, but runs after happiness in the material world.
The living entity tries to achieve happiness and rid himself of the cause of distress. But because the various bodies of the living entities are under the full control of material nature, all his plans in different bodies, one after another, are ultimately baffled.
Materialistic activities are always mixed with 3 kinds of miserable conditions: adhyatmika, adidevika, and adibhutika. Therefore, even if one achieves some success by performing such activities, what is the benefit of this success? One is still subjected to birth, death, old age, disease, and the reactions of his spirited activities.
The Brahmana continued, I am actually seeing how a rich man who is a victim of his senses is very greedy to accumulate wealth and therefore suffers from insomnia due to fear from all sides despite his wealth and opulence.
Those who are considered materially powerful and rich are always full of anxieties because of governmental laws, thieves and rogues, enemies, family members, animals, birds, persons seeking charity, the inevitable time factor, and even their own selves. Thus, they are invariably afraid.
Those in human society who are intelligent should give up the original cause of lamentation, illusion, fear, anger, attachment, poverty, and unnecessary labor. The original cause of all of this is the desire for unnecessary prestige and money.
Jay, thank you very much. So we will be focusing on one of these verses today. And before doing so, let's start with a quick introduction or, quick question, quick opening question. Has it ever happened with you that you are home or at work or anywhere, right? And you really say, oh, I really need this, I really need this, I really need this. And you look for it everywhere. You go get to the market, you rush. Here, I think all stores close at 8 or 9. You barely make it at 7:59 or 8:59. Just set your foot in and somehow manage to get that thing, even at a very costly price. Come back home, open your closet, and it's already there. It happened? Has it happened?
Yeah.
Can you see a show of hands? So today what we're going to discuss is somewhat related to this, but it's not more of a want, it's more about a need that we're going to discuss. I need this versus I want this. Those are two different things. Here we're going to talk about one of the most essential needs of any Jivatma, any living entity. And we will see what is that need and what's happening around that need. So that being said, let's get into 7:13:29. Jalam tad ubhavaischainam hitvanyo jalakamyaya mrugatshranam upadhavet tatha yatrartha driksvata.
Jalam tad udbhavashchanam.
Jalam tad udbhavaischainam
Hitvanyo jalakamaya.
hitvanyo jalakamaya
Mrigatrishnam upadhave
mrigatrishnam upadhave tatha
Jalam tad ubhavaishchanam
Hitvanyo jalakamyaya.
Krishnam padave
Jalam tad
udbhavaishchanam
Hitvanyo jalakamyaya.
hitvanyo jalakamaya
Mrigatrishnam upadhave
mrigatrishnam upadhavet tatanya arthadriksvataha
Jalam tad ubhavashchanam.
jalantam tadvavaishchannam
Hitvajno jalakam kamaya.
hitvarno jalakamaya. Oh, okay.
Sorry. Which one we have?
Third one. Mrigatrish. Okay.
Trasnam upadhvate.
Thank you. Tatha
Jalam tad udbhavaishchanam
Mrigatranam upadhavet Arthartadriksvata. Jai. Let's do the synonyms together. Jalam, water. Tat udbhavai, by grass grown from that water. Channam, covered. Hitva, giving up. Adnya, a foolish animal. Jala, kamyaya, drink water. Mriga, krishnam, a mirage. Upadhavet, runs after. Tatha, similarly. Anyatra, somewhere else. Atha, drik, self-interested. Swata, in himself. Just as a deer, because of ignorance, cannot see the water within a well covered by grass, but runs after water elsewhere, the living entity covered by material body does not see happiness within himself, but runs after happiness in the material world. Who'd like to read the purport?
This is an accurate example depicting how the living entity, because of lack of knowledge, runs after happiness outside his own self. When one understands his real identity as a spiritual being, he can understand the supreme spiritual being, Krishna, and the real happiness exchanged between Krishna and oneself.
Thank you, Prabhu. You want to read?
It is very interesting to note how this verse points to the body's growth from the spiritual soul. The modern materialistic scientist thinks that life grows from matter, but actually the fact is that matter grows from life. The life or the spiritual soul is compared herein to water, from which clumps of matter grows in the form of grass.
Thank you. Who else wanted to read? Yes, Prabhu.
One who is ignorant of scientific knowledge of the spirit soul does not look inside the body to find happiness in the soul. Instead, he goes outside to search for happiness, just as a deer without knowledge of the water beneath the grass goes out to the desert to find water. The Krishna consciousness movement is trying to remove the ignorance of misled human beings who are trying to find water outside the jurisdiction of life.
Thank you, Prabhu. Who else? Any last? Yes.
Raso vaisa, raso aham apsu kanteya. Taste of water is Krishna. To quench one's thirst, one must taste water by association with Krishna. This is the Vedic injunction.
Jai. Thank you so much. So the theme for today's class is what you're looking for has been here the whole time. That's the one-line theme for today's class. And that being said, we are going to discuss two parts of the statement. A, what you're looking for, and B, it has been here the whole time. It means, it implies that we are trying to find it somewhere else, right? Like the example that I started with. We are looking for a particular thing. It's right there in the closet. Maybe it's right there next to us. And we're trying to look after it in the entire world. That is what we're going to talk about in this class. And before we get into the specifics, for those of us who don't get a chance to attend the classes regularly, I would just like to give a theme of what's happening, where we are, right, in Canto 7. So we are, like I said, we're doing Canto 7, where Maharaj Parikshit is kind of questioning Sukadeva Goswami whether Lord is really partial or impartial. He wants clarity around that, right? Sometimes we feel why bad things happen to good devotees or good people, and the bad people are thriving. They're very rich and successful. Is God partial? Well, Parikshit Maharaj has, and he's trying to ask these questions just so we get an insight as well. So that is the theme, that is the context of this 7th canto. And here we will see how Sukadeva Goswami tells him that, well, Prahlad was born in a family of demons, but still he received the highest mercy of Lord Nrsimhadev. Does that mean Lord is partial? No. Right? This is what this entire canto is all about. So anywhere, whenever we go out and someone says or questions the impartial nature of Lord, we can cite this example, right? It's coming straight from Canto 7. So Canto 7 is sort of divided into 4 themes. O-P-E-N, open. Like we have to believe Lord is open. We don't have to believe, like it's a fact. Lord is open, right? God is open to everyone. Just like the sunshine is open to everyone. Now, if we choose to be seated in a dark basement, covered with our hoodie or whatever, we can't say that sun is being partial to me. It's your choice. It's all about the choices we make, right? So here, Lord is impartial, and He's open, and it's about how receptive every living being is towards the mercy that Lord is trying to shower upon everyone. Okay, so Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that He reciprocates. in a direct proportion. Whatever level of surrender one has towards Krishna, Krishna will reciprocate in accordance. Just like both Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad Maharaj belong to the same family. They were actually father and son. But one was really, I would say, self-centered. He wanted all the powers and benedictions to be bestowed upon him, so much so that he wanted to get ahead of the demigods, and he wanted to get ahead of death. Versus his son, who was put into a death-like situation at every moment, practically. He was thrown in blazing fire, he was put in a pit full of snakes, all of that. But he emerged successful. He did not even want to survive. He just kept his bhakti going on. He just kept praying to Lord Vishnu, Lord Nrsimhadev, and that was it. He did not even care about being alive or dead. But here's the difference, right? Lord was equally merciful. One chose to compete with the Lord to become more powerful, and the other one decided to surrender to the Lord, recognizing that Lord is the ultimate powerful one. And we see what was the difference in both of them, right? Similarly, even we can take the example from Ramayana as well, for those who like Lord Ram's pastimes. So Ravan was a demon, right? And he also had a brother who was not a demon. Does anyone know the name? Vibhishan. They were polar opposites, both of them. And again, it's to do, this pastime is to do with Lord Ram, right? Ravan really wanted to, he was angry. And you know why he was angry? Because, does anyone know why? Yes. Because his sister's nose was chopped off. And that also, it wasn't done for no reason. There were a lot of reasons behind it. But he wanted to get revenge. He wanted to destroy Lord Ram's happiness. That is what he was trying to do. And look at Vibhishan, full of surrender, right? So we've seen two examples, like there were two families, and see how much of a difference was there in their behavior and their perceptions. So we cannot claim that Lord was really partial towards Prahlad or maybe even Vibhishan, right? They just surrendered and they were open to receiving the mercy of the Lord. So OPEN. The first 4 chapters are about the oppressive nature of Hiranyakashipu in 7th canto. He would love to suppress everyone. He wanted to get ahead. He would do a lot of tapasya, a lot of austerities to get some powers. And he had such a mentality that even death personified cannot touch him. That was his desire. And he would just suppress everyone. When Prahlad was trying to be a good devotee, he tried putting him in a lot of troubles, just so he cannot be a devotee. He tried to suppress. So those were the first 4 chapters. Then the next 3 chapters talk about Prahlad's perceptions, right? How Prahlad Maharaj explains, or how he grew up, how he would explain about bhakti to his friends, right? Prahlad Maharaj is one of the 12 Mahajans, one of the 12 great personalities. He has given us a lot of great lessons. So those chapters touch upon some of those lessons. Then the next 3 chapters talk about enraged entrance, and last 4 talk about Narada's instructions. So this is how His Holiness S.B. Keshav Swami Maharaj has created an acronym so we can remember the themes of 7th canto. And with that being said, this is the theme. So we are in the last piece, which is Narad's instructions. Okay, so with that being said, we will deep dive into the verse for the next 15-20 minutes or so, and then we'll open up for any discussions, Q&A, and all of that. All right, let's do it. So what was the theme of this session again? Can anyone remember?
What you're looking for has been here the whole time.
Yes. What you have been looking for has been here the whole time. And it's actually coming from a song, which is a rather material song, so I'll not get into. Yes. So it comes from a song, and well, we can apply it to this particular verse, right? So there's 3 things to discuss here. What is it that we've been looking for? Clearly there's a need, right? There's a need, that's why we're looking for something. Because when you look for something, you try to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation. You're trying to get out of the current thing and look for something, right? Search for it proactively. So that's the first theme. Second is, what do you mean by it has been around for the whole time? And the third piece is going to be about, is there anything else that we need to keep in mind, or only these 2 statements are enough? Okay, So we'll take a look at the first statement. What you've been looking for, well, that in this example is the thirst of the deer. The deer was clearly looking for water, right? Why was it looking for water? It was thirsty. It was uncomfortable. It was restless, right? It wanted to become comfortable, meaning it lacked something, and then it was searching for something after having obtained which it will not seek it anymore, or it will be in a more comfortable spot. That was water. That was the thirst. In Bhagavatam, if you will see, there are a lot of analogies and metaphors like these to help us understand what the theme is all about. So, applying this to our context, what is it that we're looking for? We're looking for happiness. Every single living entity here is looking for happiness. Well, the deer was not really looking for water. It was looking for happiness that it would get after having that water. That was the end goal. So that way, all of us here have one common end goal, happiness, right? Is there anyone here who wants to be unhappy? There is no one. Sorry? Yes, well, a devotee can be in a bad situation also, but still be happy. Right? So everybody seeks happiness. You know, when you work for an organization, everybody has different goals, different KPIs. But there is one common organizational goal. What is your organization trying to do? So here, if we see, we all here in the material planet, which is the middle of the planetary systems, we all here have a common goal. I would say even in some of the higher planets, everybody seeks happiness. Everybody, even in Vaikuntha, we've read that happiness is also not permanent. It comes with an expiry date. There is a lot of us, or almost all of us, seeking happiness. There is only one place where you'll get that happiness and you won't have to worry about coming back. And what is that? Goloka Vrindavan. In 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yad gatva na nivartante sadhama paramam. Like the place where you don't have to worry about coming back. That is my eternal abode. That is the happiness that we see. In other words, we are looking for happiness in a lot of material objects, right? When we are frustrated, we just see, okay, maybe we can resort to overeating, or maybe we can resort to over shopping, right? People say shopping therapy. I went on a shopping therapy. What does that mean? You're adding more material stuff to your life, which one day you'll get bored of anyway, right? Like, I'm not an exception. I got this at a Boxing Day sale. I thought that'll make me happy. And there we go. I used it like 5 or 6 times, or whenever I have to speak, I use it. But that's it. It's not permanent happiness. Then I see Apple announces some higher version of it. I'll be like, oh, now this is obsolete, right? What? Yes.
You can always, done it.
I thought you were going to say you can always exchange and get a new one. So this is our flickering conception of happiness. Because in material life, with whatever we have, we're trying to create that happiness for us, right? And in fact, that's futile. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 8th chapter, Dukkhalayam ashashvatam. He says that in the 15th verse. What does that mean? There are 2 important words to consider here. Dukkha alayam, the abode of miseries, and ashashvatam.
Temporary.
Yeah, ashashvat, one which is not permanent, which is temporary. And Prabhupada goes beyond this phrase and says one more thing, that, well, if someone argues, I will learn to live with the miseries. I'll be here. Even that's not going to suffice. Because the type of misery is also going to change from time to time. So you understand, or you get a sense of how to get ahead of one type of misery. Well, there's the other one that you are not equipped to deal with. So this is the nature, and it's highly, highly temporary. Here, unfortunately, we try to forge permanent relationships with friends, right? With best friends and all of that. And we see what's the result. Nothing is permanent. Back in the school days, we used to create WhatsApp groups, best friends forever. That was the biggest scam or biggest joke of life, because not one of those is in touch. And well, we don't blame anyone. It's like everybody has their own life to be worried about. But whenever I see like young kids making such commitments, who'll stay best friends forever, I go like, all the best, kid. Because the material nature is designed in such a way that nothing is permanent. It's designed in a way that you realize you want something permanent. Prabhupada compares the material nature to, or material world, to be a prison house. If you're put in the prison, right? You do something, if you're put in the prison for say 2 years, what should be the aim when you're in the prison?
Get out.
To get out. If the aim is, and maybe one day, the authorities are in very good mood and they're like, ask whatever you want. And you go like, can you install an air conditioner and a heater and, this
Nice food.
back support mattress and whatnot? They'll be like, sure, go for it. But is that the aim? No. But this was just for a couple years. We are trying to find such material comforts for our entire lifetime. We're trying to create so many luxuries and comforts so we can get better. Just like the deer was trying to find water to quench its thirst, and it was under the impression that that will make it happy. It's not going to work. So Prabhupada says, instead of trying to make the current condition better, try focusing on the eternal condition, which is already better, which is already way better than these material elements. And why do we say that? Because the material world is designed to have 7 types of miseries, right? 7 types total. Yes, there are 3 types, plus there is 4. You want to give an example of the misery?
No, I was
okay.
still saying threefold misery.
Okay, you want to talk about threefold miseries?
3 miseries, they will just mention the
31st, yeah.
Adhyatmic, Adhibhautik, and
Okay, and what are the meanings of those 3?
Adhyatmic means first Adhidevic, the miseries that are created by demigods.
Okay, second one?
Adhyatmic are miseries caused by oneself.
Adi Bhautik. Bhautik is caused by, inflicted by others unto you. Yeah. And third one, you want to talk?
By one's own self.
By one's own self, right? These are the 3 miseries, and well, the remaining 4 can be called as defects. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Adi. Birth, old age, disease, death. These 4 defects that nobody can escape. And why would anyone call birth a defect? Because in Bhagavatam it is stated that the kind of condition that the baby is in before it's born, it's very painful. If we were to spend a day like that, we would die. It's that painful. And it's the Jivatma is kind of pleading to Lord, let me get out of here. I promise I will be, a better devotee or whatnot. And the moment we're born, we forget. And that's why all these material miseries are inflicted upon us. So that's the birth. Old age, nobody can escape, right? Disease. Even great souls and great Mahatmas like Srila Prabhupada himself could not bypass old age or disease. And his disciples would get really concerned for him, right? Like, Prabhupada, we're praying for you, we want you to get better. But Prabhupada would always tell them that it is Krishna's will. He taught his disciples how to pray, right? If you so desire. Because nobody can escape all these clutches of birth, old age, disease, and death. So those are the 4 defects, and these are the 3 miseries we discussed. One is the miseries caused by demigods, like you can say natural calamities like floods and tsunami and earthquakes. Second is inflicted by other people unto you, like where you see so many wars or so much of crime happening. And third is within ourselves. And we see so much of that outside today in the material nature, right? So many people suffer from mental health crisis, or so many of them are not healthy. That's all the defects, or I would say that's all the miseries from within. So because of those 7-fold miseries, there is padam padam cha vipadam. At every step there is danger. Right? So what happiness we try to seek is, we try to come out of one type of misery. We feel lack of misery is happiness. Is that the case? It's not. Because World Health Organization, WHO, it defines what health is, right? And in the definition, there is one clear sentence. It does not mean just absence of disease. Health is much beyond that. What we are trying to do, even in material perspective, is we don't have a disease, we feel we are very healthy, right? It's not the case. So similarly, if we don't have any problem today, that doesn't mean you're leading a very happy life. Well, there's something coming up, or there's something going on that you don't know about. So this is why we have that need or that innate desire to be happy. That's the first theme, right? What you're looking for. The second theme was, it has been here the whole time. So there was a joke, okay? Some rich billionaire, he spends thousands of dollars going to some retreat on some mountain. And there, after the 7-day camp, the instructor says, the happiness you seek is within you. He says, okay, and how do I develop that? Well, that will be additional $10,000. You don't need to spend that much. You don't need to go to such places which will try to find that, because it lies right within. And why do we say within? Because there's two things in the heart. What are they? Soul and super soul. Super soul is Paramatma. It's Krishna. And he is the source of happiness. He sanctions the desires of the soul, right? Soul cannot just desire and things happen on its own. It's not going to work like that. So they say soul proposes, Krishna disposes. The super soul gives final approval on that. But we never approach the super soul to surrender. We just want this and we want that from a material perspective. So we just need to change the angle. We don't need to do anything else. We don't need to ask for anything else. We don't need to say, I want lack of miseries in life. That's not going to happen. We should just ask for a bliss that will be transcendental through all those miseries. And that is a spiritual bliss, right? So that has been in us all the life. People are depressed these days, and it's a pretty serious thing, depression and anxiety. It's because sometimes they forget the happiness is within them. They cannot try to control people or situations, right? So now is the time to sort of reaffirm that the happiness is from within. We don't need to depend on anyone. But if you depend on any other human being, they could let you down. But if you seek the happiness within yourself, it's right there. So it has been here the whole time, ages after ages, right? Not everyone knows about this. And even if, then there's a third category. We'll come to that later. That's the third part of the theme. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains Sanatan Goswami, Jiver Swarup Hoye. Does anyone know the meaning of that? Yes, Ishan, you want to say?
Identity is that Krishna's servant. We are servants of servants of servants of servants of servants of Krishna.
Original identity is that we are eternal servants of Krishna. And what is happening is, this fact is right there, but we've forgotten that fact. And why have we forgotten that fact? Because of conditioning from so many births. We have developed so many layers and layers and layers of dust that we have forgotten that who we really are. And that is why in the Shikshashtakam, the only 8 verses actually left behind by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the very first verse, he hits to the point. There is no time for flattery. He does not get into introductions. He hits the target. What does he say in the first verse? What does that mean? What does that mean? Cheto Darpana Marjanam. And why do you need to clean it? What's on there? Dust of millions of birds. And what is that dust basically?
Lust, anger, greed.
And what does that dust make you feel? It makes you feel
Detached from Krishna.
no, yes, detached from Krishna. It makes you forget Krishna essentially, and it also makes you believe things which are not true. Right? It makes you believe, because if you are going to look into a dusty mirror, you will never be able to see what you actually look like, right? So that cleaning is the permanent solution. We can yes.
But since we are in this material world, still the modes of material nature, we are just entrapped by them. Even though we don't want to, still we are helpless sometimes.
We are always helpless. It's not even sometimes, right? There is there is no escaping those 3 modes. But there is one way to escape. Not escape, but not feel the effect of these 3 modes. And what is that?
Hare Krishna,
You go. There you go, right? And that's the most effective of the 9 processes of devotional service. So do we want to talk about those 9 aspects of devotional service real quick? One by one?
Kirtanam,
These are, and who do you think spoke about these 9? Prahlad. Right? best time. Like we are discussing about Prahlad Maharaj and then we are discussing about these things. And I think this was done in one of the previous classes, but we can quickly touch upon one great example for each of those 9 if you're interested in. So Shravanam, Kirtanam, and there are so many, and even one more example here could be Valmiki. Kirtanam, speaking glories of Lord Ram, right? Third one is Smaranam. And Hanuman is actually Dasyam and also a mix of some other things. Actually, he embodies all of it, right? He's also Mahajan. But it's more to do with Dasyam. So it's Prahlad Maharaj that remembers Vishnu Smaranam, and it's also Sita.
Oh, Mother Sita.
Yes. So many examples we can take. Mother Sita, because she was in temporary separation from Ram, but not a moment was passed when she could not think of him. Even Radharani for that matter, right?
I know the gopis as well.
Yeah, so many. There are so many examples. We just take like 1 or 2. There are so many examples. Smaranam, they can even, theirs is also Atma Nivedanam to a certain extent, right? They complete surrender. So it's really difficult to exemplify that way. But Sankirtan movement, yes, it's all about a mix of these elements, right? Yeah. True. Then there's serving the lotus feet, Padasevanam. Why? Because she massages Lord Vishnu's lotus feet. And there's also Bharat Maharaj from Ramayana. He was serving the lotus feet of Lord Sri Ram by serving his footwear. Yeah. Yeah. Then we have Archanam.
I'm pretty sure.
Maharaj, please.
So there are multiple examples. Archanam, some examples that we have here in this book by S.B. Keshav Maharaj, he cited Prithu and Shabari. You know Shabari from Ramayana? Yes. Now again, people could argue, well, it's more of this or more of that. But like I said, it's a mix of various things, but one that you do a little bit more of, that is the example that gets associated, right? Then there's Vandanam, where we have Akrur. You know, Akrur came to take Krishna and Balram, Akrur. And Vibhishan. We just spoke about him some time back. Then there is Dasyam. Hanumanji is a Dasyam. Also is Lakshman. Right? Lakshman always served as Lord Ram's most confidential servant to ensure. In fact, Baladev, his job is to ensure that Krishna is comfortable. He takes on that duty on himself. He's the first expansion. He's the first expansion of Krishna. So even technically, Goloka, Vrindavan, is a manifestation or expansion of? Why? Because his only aim of life is to give pleasure and comfort to Krishna. Sakyam, so many examples. Arjun and Uddhava, very good. The confidential friends of Krishna, right? And we also have Sugriv from Ramayana. I really like this grid because here we have examples from all scriptures. And last is Atma Nivedanam. So we have Bali Maharaj, right? And we also have Jatayu from Ramayana. So these, by doing all these, why did we discuss these 9 different processes of devotional service? It's a way to connect with Krishna. It's a way to be eternally happy. And we can take one or many of these roles. There's different kinds of loving relationship we can have with the Lord. How many types are there? 5. There's 5 primary and 7 secondary types. Can anyone give some quick examples? Sorry? Madhurya. What does that mean? Conjugal love for Krishna, and that is the aim that we're all looking to achieve, but we should not like directly target that, right? There's a process that needs to be followed. Any more examples of Vatsalya means motherly, like mother Yashoda, parental love, right?
Sakyam.
Yes. You want to give an example? Yeah.
Arjuna.
Sakyam. You can look at Krishna as your friend or as your Sakha, right? And does anyone know about these? These are all primary that we speak about all the time, but there's also secondary. And secondary are like more neutral, I would say, or more subtle. You want to give an example?
Like Hasya?
Hasya, like Madhu Mangal, right? Jai Jai Krishna Sakha Batu Dvijaraj, when we say in that. Who is that Batu Dvijaraj? Madhumangal. He's a funny friend of Krishna, right? So even you can have a humorous relationship with Krishna. Or you can have a relationship of chivalry, right? When you like fight at his wish, at his desire. So these are different relationships. So when in other approaches, what happens is sometimes it gets very restricted. Oh, God is your father and you have to serve God. If you don't serve, your life will be miserable. It's not so. Krishna does not want to make anyone's life miserable. It's a choice, like we've been saying since the first sentence of this class. So we can have so many relationships, and the aim of having these relationships is to be eternally happy, is to be fearlessly situated at the lotus feet of Krishna. Why do I say fearlessly? Because if we are not situated, then there is fear, right? Abhay Charana Ravindra. What does that mean? Correct. And that is our Prabhupada, right? Is fearlessly situated at the lotus feet of Krishna. So, that being said, the only way by which we can become blissful is by associating with Krishna, by wanting to serve Krishna. We should not try to compete with Krishna. That's the only thing. We don't want to get parallel to him because that's not going to happen. Let's face it. We have to be under him. And again, some people might think, oh, is Krishna that egoistic? No, he's not. He's not asking that you serve. But this is how it is supposed to be. Like we said, Jiver Swarup Hoy Nitya Das, eternal servant of Krishna, always serving Krishna. That is the only way to be happy. So when we say here that the deer was thirsty, it was looking for water, that thirst was happiness, right? We all are like the deer. We seek happiness, but we look for it elsewhere. Instead of getting into the well or the water body where there was grass grown, but there was water under, it was looking everywhere else in the desert. And you know what happens in the desert? There's mirage. You feel like, even it happens on the highway, right? If you go on a sunny afternoon, you can see reflections on the road making it look like a pond of water, but it's not water. And they say when you're thirsty, everywhere you'll see a mirage. So it means that this is the material nature. This is an illusion at every step that we don't have to fall into. It's a trap. We have to look at Krishna. We have to look at serving Krishna eternally. That's the only way by which we can become happy. And there's a third theme here is, well, the deer did not know there's water inside. So even we don't know that there is happiness right within us. And how can we know that there is happiness right within us? With the help of a guru, with the help of sadhu, with the help of shastra, 3-point system, right? You need guru, you need association of devotees, and you need scriptures to help you find the happiness within you. And this is how we can attain the happiness. But sometimes what happens is we know all this and still we hanker after material things, right? And again, I'm also guilty of doing that. But when you know all this spiritual, or you can know the key spiritual secret and not use it correctly, Prabhupada gives the example of licking the honey bottle from outside. You get the best honey, or in Canada you can get the best A-grade maple syrup bottle. You try to lick it from outside, a little bit sweetness you might get because of the remnants or whatever, 2 or 3 drops might have fallen. You go like, no, this is not the correct one. Then you get another one. So even within spirituality, when you have all the scriptures, when you have the Bhagavad Gita, everything, the way to understand or get the essence is to read it very submissively with the help of a guru, with the help of devotees. And that's how we can become eternally happy. So as Prabhupada always says, chant Hare Krishna and
be happy.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Do we have any questions? Yes, Prabhu.
I have a question, but I really like the example you gave of the material world being a prison. And the example you said, like, the aim of going to prison is to eventually get out, And if the prison warden is in a nice mood, you wouldn't ask for something comfortable, you would ask to get out.
Yes.
And that was very illustrated for you, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. Any more questions, reflections, thoughts? Yes, Prabhu.
Well, if you have some time, would you like to mention about those 7 secondary rasas?
Sure, we can do that. Did we have any more questions about the theme, or can we get into that? Okay. So 7 secondary rasas. And I need to refer, I'm so sorry, I don't have it handy. Okay, there are 7 secondary rasas that I'm trying to find. There's laughing, right? You can connect with Krishna in a very humorous relationship, like being his funny friend, Madhumangal Das. Then having wonderful visions, entering into a chivalrous relationship, like it's a thing based on respect, right? You want him, he wants something to be done, you do it for him, right? Like some fights, they were simply for his enjoyment. Even when Gopas would go to look after the cows, they would have just funny arguments just to make Krishna happy. They were not really wanting to fight, but they, anything to do that will make Krishna happy. That's a chivalrous relationship. Experiencing pity for Krishna, feeling anger, right? There we've seen that as well. And Krishna makes himself so available to everyone. He's even okay being chastised, right? I'm not able to think of a specific example, but yes. Oh yeah, there you go. And to a certain extent, in Sakhya Rasa, even Draupadi, right? She told Krishna, "Where were you? I was trying to call for you." He says, "Well, you're not really trying to call, you're trying to protect yourself. That's why I did not get involved," right? So chastisement, he's okay being chastised. And even we can see Mother Yashoda at times would chastise Krishna for eating dirt and all of that. He's okay, he takes it, right? So long as it is done with the right mood. Experiencing ghastliness and devastation. So these are some of the 7 secondary rasas.
Just had a question.
Yes.
What about Bhayanaka? Is that portrayed by anyone?
It could be.
But it's
No, to hear your question truly, he's experiencing that horror being.
That's interesting.
That's where, when you get delivered by the Lord, or maybe even Ravana, right, being hit or struck by arrows from Lord Ram. So we have something called as a secondary rasa of fear, so it could be associated with that. All right. Any more questions? Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanande.